Madam Speaker, I rise in support of my amendment to H.R. 22.
Does the gentleman have an amendment at the desk?
Yes.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 13, printed in Part B of House Report number 114-326, offered by Mr. Williams of Texas.
Pursuant to House Resolution 512, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Williams, and a member each opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas.
Madam Speaker, I am a second-generation auto dealer. I've been in the industry for most of my life. I know it well. As such, my one-word amendment will fix Senate language that puts unintentional new burdens on all rental car establishments. My amendment will clarify the Senate language so it only applies to actual rental car companies like it's supposed to. The definition in the underlying bill, which the House never passed, is so broad that it sweeps up dealers who offer loaner vehicles or rentals as a convenience for their customers. My amendment leaves the regulations on all rental car companies, which comprise 99% of the market, intact. The Senate language is flawed because it simply is not tailored to small business. For example, under the bill, vehicles would be grounded for weeks or months for such minor compliance matters as an airbag warning sticker that might peel off the sun visor or an incorrect phone number printed in the owner's manual. The regulations in this bill are not proportionate. Another problem is that this bill favors multinational rental car companies at the expense of small businesses. This bill will regulate a small business dealer with a fleet of 5 loaner vehicles the same way it would regulate a massive rental car company with hundreds of thousands of vehicles in their fleet. The bill even allows a large rental car company's additional compliance time, which further disadvantages small businesses. Madam Speaker, large businesses have regulatory and legal staffs available on hand to help with this burden, and they have the capital to pay millions of dollars in regulatory compliance costs. The average small business owner, however, is his or her own legal and regulatory staff. Without my amendment, this bill would impose new government inspections, additional record-keeping requirements, and new penalties up to $15 million on small business. The Senate bill also gives the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration the authority to add more regulatory burdens as appropriate, and that is too open-ended. Without my amendment, this bill could make it impractical for small business dealers to provide loaner or rental cars to their customers because it mandates vehicles be grounded for minor compliance matters with minimal impact on safety. And that is not what Congress' intent is or should be. Madam Speaker, in tax law, employment law, and other areas, Congress has recognized the difference between big business and small business. Let's not regulate our Main Street business like multinational corporations. Frankly, Main Street is hurting enough as it is. Vote yes on the Williams amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. Does any member wish to claim time in opposition? Yes. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Illinois seek recognition?
I rise to stand in opposition, to take the time in opposition to
the gentlewoman from Illinois is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. The Williams Amendment unreasonably limits the application of the Raechel and Jacqueline Houck Safe Rental Car Act that is included in the Senate amendment on H.R. 22. I want to begin by yielding to the woman who has really been leading for safety in the car rental field, and that is the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Capps. For
California.
How many minutes?
3 minutes.
For 3 minutes.
The gentlewoman from California is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank my colleague for yielding. Madam Chairwoman, I rise in strong opposition to the Williams Amendment. This amendment would needlessly exempt auto dealers from critical vehicle safety requirements included in the underlying bill. While federal law currently prohibits auto dealers from selling new cars subject to the recall, there's no similar law prohibiting rental cars companies or auto dealers from renting or loaning out unrepaired, recalled vehicles. I introduced the Raechel and Jacqueline Houck Safe Rental Car Act to close this loophole and prohibit rental car companies and auto dealers from renting or loaning vehicles under safety recall until they are fixed. And I am pleased this legislation is in the underlying bill. This harmful amendment, however, would put lives at risk by exempting auto dealers from complying with this common sense safety requirement. GM, Honda, Chrysler, and other car manufacturers who've issued safety recalls are loaning out tens of thousands of cars to customers while the repairs are being made. Consumers expect that the loaner cars they receive when they take their own cars into a dealership for repairs are safe to drive. But rather than ensure these loaners are safe, the Williams Amendment would allow car dealers to give out loaner cars that have the same exact defect as the car that's being repaired. The auto dealers are justifying this amendment by claiming that some safety recalls aren't actually important enough to require immediate repairs. This is ridiculous. NHTSA does not issue frivolous recalls. All safety recalls pose serious safety risks and should be fixed as soon as possible. Any claims otherwise is simply not true. Madam Chairwoman, it only takes one car with an unrepaired safety recall to tragically end a life. That's what happened to Raechel and Cally Houck when their rented PT Cruiser caught fire and crashed into a trailer tractor due to an unrepaired recall. And that's what happened to Jewel Brangman when she was killed by the unrepaired Takeda airbag in her rented Honda Civic. Loaned cars from auto dealers should be no different. The Williams Amendment would let these auto dealers off the hook and allow them to loan out defective cars to unsuspecting consumers. Creates a nonsensical double standard for rentals and loaner cars, not based on how unsafe they are, but based on who's renting or loaning them to the public. Keeping unrepaired recalled cars parked in the lot and out of the hands of consumers is common sense. I urge my colleagues to join me in opposing the Williams Amendment to ensure all consumers can be confident that their rental car is their loaner car is safe to drive, regardless of whether they get it from a rental company or a dealership. And I yield back to my colleague from Illinois.
I thank the gentlelady for her leadership. You know, I understand that everyone has car dealerships in their district and they're an important part of our economy, but this amendment serves one purpose and one purpose only, allowing car dealers and rental car companies to evade responsibility. Just like rental car companies, car dealerships rent and lease vehicles regularly, and just like rental car companies, car dealerships should not be renting or leasing cars that are subject to a safety recall without first repairing the defect. These are safety recalls on cars the auto manufacturers themselves have deemed necessary to repair. Can you imagine bringing your car to a dealer to get a deadly Takeda airbag replaced and then being given a loaner car with the same deadly Takeda airbag to drive while your car is being repaired? That's the situation that this amendment would allow. All of those subject to the Safe Rental Car Act, car dealerships are in the best position to fix these recalled cars quickly. Instead of this amendment, which weakens the Senate provision, the Rules Committee should have put in order the gentlelady's amendment expanding the provision to ensure used cars are not sold until recalls are fixed. Whether or not renting cars is the company's primary business makes no difference. A defective car is a defective car. Rental companies and auto dealers alike have a responsibility to their customers, and we have a responsibility to ensure that consumers' lives are not put at risk. I urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I would like to yield 2 minutes to my good friend and fellow auto dealer, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Kelly.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman. Madam Chair, I'm fascinated. I've been here for 5 years, and the fact that people who don't have any idea about how a business is run are constantly telling people how to run their business. People that don't have the foggiest idea of who auto dealers are, or who our personal responsibility is to, and the fact that all recalls are not created equal. There's not a single person in our business that would ever put one of our owners in a defective car or a call with a recall. I said, well, wait, but that could happen. That could happen. So if you're telling me that because the wrong phone number is printed in an owner's manual, that's a recall. We got to get that car off the road. My God, can you imagine what would happen to this owner if they opened up that glove box and saw that? What a horrible situation to put them in. Now, you shake your heads and you say, no, that's not what's going on. Please, this is what I do. This is who I am. We're a third-generation automobile business. sold thousands of cars, and these people are not just customers, they are part of our families, our extended families. But somehow we believe that if we can redefine, if we can tell people this car has been recalled, you can't possibly get in it, and you say, well, what's the recall? Well, you know what? 1 pound per square inch on the tire pressure is not printed correctly. Oh, that's horrible. How could that possibly be? You got to get that car off the road. You're subjecting automobile dealers to the same sanction you're subjecting rental car companies who don't have to worry about it because, by the way, as those cars come off the road in a recall, the factories pay them for those cars as they sit waiting to be repaired. There's no loss of revenue for a rental car company. That's why they're so happy about it. And what will they do with us when we take a car off the road? They'll say, send your customer to us and we'll rent them a car. If you can't see the difference, if you can't see the unequal balance in it, then there's a problem here. If a safety recall is a safety recall, that's one thing. But if it's something else that's cosmetic, that's something altogether different. And to group them all under the same umbrella and say this is a problem hunting for some type of an issue. And there's no issue here. There's none of us in our business that would ever put any of our owners in an unsafe car.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Well, I thank you, but I'll tell you what, I wish some of these ridiculous amendments would expire.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Texas has 30 seconds remaining.
I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from Illinois has used her allotted time. The gentleman from Texas is invited to close.
Yield myself as much time as I need to close, please.
The gentleman has 30 seconds.
Madam Speaker, auto dealers, much like us here in Washington, D.C., have a reputation to uphold. No auto dealer in their right mind would loan a vehicle to their customer that is unsafe to drive or operate. An auto dealer should not have to ground all their loaner vehicles because of minor issues like a sticker that might peel off the sun visor because something was misspelled in the owner's manual. An auto dealer wants to provide great service and be able to loan their customers a vehicle so they can go to work, drop their kids off at school, go to the grocery store, and visit the doctor. These small business owners should not be regulated like huge multinational car rental agencies. I urge you to support my amendment and protect small businesses. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman's time has expired. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Texas. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.